Year A, Lesson 14, A Faithful Slave. Wednesday's lesson is entitled Staying True. Memory verse, Proverbs chapter 1, verse 10. My son, if sinners entice you, do not consent. Our Bible references are found in Genesis chapter 39, verses 6 to 23. During the 10 years that Joseph worked for Potiphar, he became more like a son to him than a slave. He met important people, studied languages and science, and learned how the government of Egypt worked. He was handsome in form and appearance, and everyone knew that he was faithful in worshiping only the God of heaven. Then everything suddenly changed. Potiphar's wife became jealous of Joseph. When she tried to get him to break God's law, he refused to listen to her. Read what he said to her. Genesis chapter 39, verse 9. There is none greater in this house than I, neither hath he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? When Joseph wouldn't listen to Potiphar's wife, she became angry and accused him of a terrible crime. Potiphar was very angry. Since he knew that Joseph was honest, he was sure that his wife was lying, but he didn't dare take the word of a slave ahead of hers. If Potiphar had thought that Joseph was lying, he would have had him put to death at once. What did he do instead? Genesis chapter 39, verse 20. And Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound, and he was there in the prison. What a total change! In one day, Joseph went from being like a son with many responsibilities in the home of a rich, important man to being in prison, bound with painful chains. How would you have felt? Would you have stopped trusting God? Would you have thought that God had forsaken you? Even though Joseph was at first treated cruelly in prison, he refused to complain or feel sorry for himself. Instead, he chose to encourage and help others in the prison. During the 3 years that he was in prison, he learned a lot. He saw how both guilty and innocent people were treated, and he learned which punishments were fair and which were cruel and unfair. This would help him be a good leader later. The prison Joseph was in probably was a special one because it was where the king's prisoners were. Potiphar was the king's chief guard, so perhaps he was in charge of that prison and had a prison keeper under his command. The prison keeper must have soon found out why such a fine young man as Joseph hadn't been put to death. So he began giving him more and more responsibilities, which Joseph faithfully carried out, and God blessed his work. Genesis chapter 39, verses 21 to 23. But the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners that were in the prison, and whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it. The keeper of the prison looked not to anything that was under his hand, because the Lord was with him, and that which he did, the Lord made it to prosper. Let's apply it. When did Joseph decide to always honor God? Before temptation came or during the temptation?